5 years ago in 1994, Eric Bischoff was attempting to turn around a company that was millions in the red on a yearly basis, signing the biggest name in business history in Hulk Hogan to be the driving force behind it. In 1995, Eric went to Ted Turner's office and suggested a primetime Monday night show to go head-to-head with Raw, presenting Nitro and forever changing the way weekly wrestling television was done. In 1996, Eric signed Hall & Nash in an invasion angle that led to the NWO revolutionizing the industry and starting its way to the peak period. In 1997, Eric's WCW dominated McMahon's company like nobody ever thought possible, making WCW the #1 company in the world. A year later in 1998, Eric oversaw WCW having the most profitable year for a company in history, with 1999 starting as hot as ever. A few short months later of declining numbers against the booming competition, burnout and constant clashes with talent and management, it was the end of the road for the man most responsible for what ended up being the biggest boom period in industry history, as Bischoff was removed from his position as president of WCW on September 9, leaving the future direction of the company in doubt, starting on this night with the first ever Nitro without Eric in charge. The first major move post-Bischoff era saw Ric Flair returning to WCW TV, without mentioning the name, cutting a promo on Eric saying that after years he's finally free, bringing out new champion Sting after turning heel on Hogan last night with Luger, after a decade-changing dynamic with the first ever Flair-Sting segment with Sting as a heel, setting up Hogan and Bret for the save and a tag match for the main event. Raw coming in front of a sellout crowd from the announced home of WrestleMania 2000 in April from the Anaheim Pond, opened with one of the wildest starts in show history back on its regular time slot for the first time since August 23, showing all the title contenders arriving to the building with Triple H arriving in a police car with security after Austin's return segment on SmackDown. Linda walked to the ring with Patterson and Briscoe announcing a 5-way no-holds-barred match for the title shot at Unforgiven, along with Triple H defending the belt against Steve Austin in his return match from SummerSlam, in what will be Austin's first match back on Raw since mid-July, and first appearance in general in almost a month. Ending the segment with everyone coming out through the crowd to start a brawl in the ring. Raw jumped over 900,000 viewers in the second quarter for the Rock and Mankind promo, continuing to turn every interaction between them to must-see TV in another comedy interview, along with a Jarrett Open challenge to any woman in the build-up to the China match. In addition to WrestleMania returning to Anaheim after 4 years since the 1996 event, the company also announced plans for a big weekend in the city with a fan fest set to happen from March 31 to April 2. With Seed getting Goldberg chants in his segments and matches since the day he returned to the company, along with the streak angle and disrupting matches for a few months, Bill Goldberg came out unannounced to finally respond and set up the match, saying that the wait is over and he's challenging Seed for a match tonight, with Seed shown leaving the building saying that it's gonna be on his time, starting the build to the Havoc pay-per-view with the Goldberg promo bumping WCW around 600,000 viewers. Raw had Farooq vs. Devon in the build to the Dudleys' first pay-per-view match in the company against the Acolytes at Unforgiven, set to be the traditional welcoming committee match from the Acolytes, with both teams known for their legit aggressive style, especially hyped after the last time the Acolytes faced an ECW tag team with them shooting on Public Enemy in March, set to be one of the stiffest matches of the year and a test for the Dudleys. British Bulldog's first Raw appearance since before Montreal '97 was next, saying that he won every belt besides the world title and he's back in the company to do it before he retires, bringing out Bossman and then Al Snow with Pepper's family members, with Rottweilers running after Bossman through the crowd in the build to their pay-per-view cage match. WCW had Harlem Heat going over Knobbs and Morris after winning the tag belts for the 9th time at Fall Brawl, going against Shane being attacked by the Posse on Raw and running in during a Test vs. Joey match, with both Test and Shane driving after the Posse while also setting up the later segment as a storyline reason for Shane to not be in the building. WCW opened the show with a Benoit vs. Malenko match for a world title shot at Sting tonight, with Benoit going over. With Sting booked for the tag match, Rick Steiner came out instead challenging Benoit, with the Sting-Benoit match moved to next week, ending up with Benoit winning the TV title. Raw's peak quarter of the night came at the top of the hour for Steve Austin's promoted first TV match in over 2 months, ending up in an angle with Triple H getting him arrested after the Big Angle Thursday, with Austin running him over with a truck inside an ambulance, jumping around 700,000 viewers to a 6.4 rating along with a Godfather vs. Chaz match. The WWF made a major crossover appearance at last night's Emmy Awards, with Rock, Austin, Chyna and Shane all at the event, and Rock and Austin doing a skit on stage during the main Emmys broadcast, which was the highest-rated show on television on the week. Introduced if it was up to the governor of Minnesota as the next president and vice president of the United States, Rock and Austin walked on stage in character with 3 accountants responsible for overseeing the voting, each doing his catchphrases, with the crowd popping big for the "It doesn't matter" line to close this segment. The last 3 weeks in the business saw major turnover of talent between all 3 top companies, after the Dudleys and Stevie Richards signed with the WWF. Reports were coming on ECW champion Taz about to reach a deal with the company, with head writer Vince Russo arranging and pushing for all 3 signings over the last few months, with the company looking to add more talent to the roster with the added 2 hours of prime-time television with SmackDown. With that happening, Raven quit WCW and returned to ECW TV on their 2nd episode on TNN, coming out as a surprise to a huge pop, winning the tag belts with Dreamer against the Dudleys to write them off the company in the highest-rated segment on the show so far with a 1.2 rating. Another change to the roster will see one of the most featured performers in the company, Ken Shamrock, returning to cage fighting with Unforgiven against Jericho, set to be his final match in some time. Doing an angle with Jericho inside a cage with a spoof of Gotch Gracie. Bringing out Gotch Gracie, which ended up with Curtis Hughes under the mask. Raw's #1 contender 5-way ended up in a wild brawl with almost the entire roster out to contain the chaos, with all 5 taking out the entire referees roster to set up the Unforgiven main event with a special enforcer, as the original card for the show was set to change with the company working around injuries to Undertaker and Austin. Lead referee Earl Hebner was out after the entire crew was taken out, but went back in an angle with the referees going on strike. WCW jumped over 1 million viewers to peak the night with a 3.4 rating for the Hogan and Hart vs. Sting and Luger tag match, with Bret working his first televised match back, teaming with Hogan for the first time as a babyface team after teaming up as part of the NWO last August, going 10 minutes in the main event. A few minutes from 11 p.m., Triple H and Chyna were walking to the ring again for an unannounced segment which was then announced as a title match, calling out Linda to the ring after ordering Triple H to defend the belt after getting out of the Austin match earlier, telling her to cancel the match as Austin went to jail and forfeited his shot, ending up with her refusing and Hunter threatening her before the No Chance in Hell theme song started, with JR and King selling it as Shane coming out. But instead Vince walked out in a big surprise for his first televised appearance in almost 2 months, a few seconds from the top of the hour. The tag match ended up with Page coming out to give Luger a bat, hitting Bret in the face with Sting and Luger going over, establishing Sting as a heel. With the future direction of leadership and the product on and off screen is said to be known in the upcoming weeks. Vince said that he gave his word of not interfering in company business, but this is personal, telling Triple H that he made him and about to fight before Austin returned to a big pop to start the match, brawling all over ringside with Austin laying out Hunter to close the show, with the overrun for the Vince return and brawl picked up over 1.3 million viewers to a 7 rating, with both shows coming back to head-to-head competition, with WCW doing its highest number in the month with a 3.3 and Raw coming back after a 2-week break with a 6 overall rating.